black hats and things like that. And I just remember one day stopping at a corner, walking to work and just like looking at everyone on all the corners and like, I don't fit in here, and that's totally fine.
You're listening to the Bar and Restaurant Podcast, where hospitality lovers come to listen and learn with expert David DiLorenzo.
What's up? The Delo here, and I am excited to have Brett Vibber. How are you?
Good, how are you?
You excited?
I'm jacked.
I can tell with that amazing shirt that you have on. Show that to the screen. That is just. If you are listening, describe that shirt for the listeners.
I mean, in a nutshell, I think it's we're all going to make mistakes, and we're all capable of fixing mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most iconic painters around. What the hell was his name again?
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross. Thank you. Yeah, my Bob Ross history is a little bit behind. So I remember the first time that I met you. It was at Devour.
Mm-hmm.
2-3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, something like that. And what was so great about it is I was walking around. I was a sponsor of the event. I was walking around, posting stuff, doing this and that. And you had reached out to me after the event and said, dude, I like your vibe. You support local. You do this, you do that. And ever since then, we've just been friends. We've been kind of stalking each other online and doing this. And then, we've done a little bit of work together on the insurance aspect of things. But I think most importantly, just been a real supportive, system for each other, whether it be working out or, any of that sort of stuff.
Definitely. And
I will venture to say I'm going to give you the title of Arizona Indiana Jones of food.
Perfect.
How's that?
I willingly accept.
I mean, you are so the Indiana Jones. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Sure.
But you're a native Arizonan, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in South Tempe. I went to Corona del Sol and McClintock, Warner area when it looked a little bit different than it does nowadays.
Just a little bit, right? Yeah.
Yep. My parents just finally moved out of the old neighborhood and relocated permanently to Colorado. So I have a lot of family up in the Denver area, and my brother and sister are already up there. So they made that jump here just a few weeks ago. But that was kind of my last personal connection to the old neighborhood. We usually still went down there on Sundays and had a swim and Barro's Pizza. And
so they were in the same house?
They sold their old house just a few years ago, the big house, but then stayed in the same neighborhood and whatnot. So I think they just got tired finally of the Arizona summer, and
they're done with it.
Denver was they were digging Denver, and they're there all the time anyways with having family up there, so it's a pretty natural evolution. I've almost made the jump to the Colorado state a few times, so I can appreciate that.
I'm sure you can. Yep. But your heart and your soul is still here in native Arizona.
Always going to be, no matter where I am, no matter where I've been, over the course of the years, and I've been blessed to travel the world cooking for one reason or another, but there was always something about coming home to cook, and that ties into, just the ingredients I like using and the dirt roads I'm familiar with, and, that nostalgic feel of, I'm get to share, kind of part of my family's past and my family's story with every, foraged ingredient that's out there, that it all came from, my dad taking us somewhere.
Right,
so,
and before that, it started with your grandparents, right? You were cooking.
My grandma and my mom were always cooking.
Yeah,
always cooking. So I can remember making pasta for the first time with my grandma. I can remember just every single day, which was torture as a wrestler, but every single day coming home, my mom would have fresh baked cookies or muffins or brownies.
What are you doing? I gotta make weight.
And, my dad would just as an ex wrestler and a current coach would just have his fill of it, and he wasn't cutting weight. He didn't have to make any weight, so I'm sure that was just a glorious thing to come home to, every day for him. So we all had these different viewpoints on that. It was torture coming home. The house, the garage smelled like brownies before you even got inside, or
oh my god,
chocolate chip cookies, or just the list goes on.
It's you gotta stop with that. I'm
drive you nuts.
So your dad was a wrestling coach at Corona?
Yep, football, wrestling, track.
Okay, football, wrestling, track, and he coached you?
Did, yeah.
How was that?
I've had that question thousands of times.
Yeah.
I think throughout my life, I loved it.
Yeah.
I never knew anything other than growing up with him being my coach. So he was our coach, and as far as mentors go in the wrestling world, he was it for me from the time I was able to walk and roll around in the wrestling room, which was pretty damn early. But
How did he like it?
I'm sure that he enjoyed it less than I enjoyed it.
Right.
I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to watch not just your kid in sports, but wrestling is as he always put it, it's the most intimate sport. You're out there all by yourself, and there's other sports where you're out there all by yourself, but not grappling for success and things like that. And it's a lot, and he coached other sports, but it's different losing a wrestling match than a soccer game to me. And I know
it's horrible,
right? Because you when you get to lose as a team, it's one thing. When you lose by yourself, it's all on you, and it's humbling, and there's nothing.
And there's still a team aspect of it that depend on you to win that match.
Absolutely, and that it likens itself to a kitchen because if the saute cook doesn't pull his weight, then the whole kitchen goes down. If the dishwasher doesn't pull his weight, then the whole kitchen goes down, and that was always an easy transition for me, getting out of sports and into the business. That always made sense. Like, I got to do my part for the team's better benefit, and that's always kind of been what it was with sports growing up. So it was a really natural transition for me. But it's different to lose all together with your team than all by yourself.
Wrestling is definitely the epitome of having discipline skills from the very beginning, because I wrestled in high school as well, and it was hell.
Right.
It was the worst. But the satisfaction of getting on the mat and winning a match and knowing all of that came through. I'm sure you had the episodes of wearing trash bags and sweating to death.
Yeah,
and,
sometimes fancier trash bags.
Yeah,
but,
fancier trash bags, stuff like that. Bear crawls across the football field. I mean, all that sort of stuff. What weight did you wrestle at?
My freshman year of high school, 103, and then pretty much 125 the rest of high school, and then jumped up to 141 in college.
That's ninja weight, bro.
Yeah, it was. College was a rude awakening because you kind of got into that spot in the lineup where guys were really fast. Lightweights are really fast, heavyweights are really powerful traditionally, and I found myself being a middleweight for the first time, where I'm like, God damn, these guys are fast and strong.
Yeah.
So you gotta put it together a little differently by the time you get to college.
What college did you wrestle at?
Pima in Tucson.
Okay. Yeah. And did you have aspirations to go any further after college, or?
Probably when I was younger, but by the time college was wrapping up, my body was telling me it was about the end of my wrestling days. 3 knee surgeries in, I broke my ankle in college, and shoulder starts hurting into your mid-20s. That a lot of upper level athletes, not only are they talented and highly skilled and big, fast, and strong, there's a lot of luck involved.
Yeah.
With staying healthy and not tweaking your ankle in a way that you don't.
Ton of luck.
Right. You're not affected the rest of your life. And you look at most high level athletes had that level of luck. It's really tough, to continue to come back after injury after injury.
Have you watched that Netflix story on Michael Jordan?
I have not. I listened to a bit of it while
how that dude kept it together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, just at that level at all times.
Right, and you see he never had a major injury that
nothing that ended his career.
That sidelined him out for a season, and that's, I mean, there's probably guys that were much better than Michael Jordan that didn't get to put together the whole game. By the end of it. So I always. I was thankful for my time on the mat, and wrestlers always know there's no next level, really.
Right.
A couple of lucky guys end up on the Olympic team, but there's not.
It's not the WWF,
no NFL,
right?
Right. There's no NFL, there's no NBA, there's no professional proper wrestling league here in the United States, where most wrestlers are in college to get an education, and they know they're moving on, and there's an end game coming. So
no, when I was 13, I wanted to be the Ultimate Warrior.
Sure,
but I mean that slowly dissipates when you realize that it's all bullshit.
Right, absolutely.
But it looked cool.
I mean, it definitely was not allowed in our house.
That's so funny.
I had a lot of guys, a lot of college teammates went on to MMA careers, and for me, someone was just asking me about it the other day. It was all wrestling's strategy and wrestling's mental and physical and to get into a cage with someone and just be upset for nothing, you know, to go fight for that, it didn't really make sense for my head. It's don't get me wrong, I always enjoyed a nice brouhaha, but that's because you're upset and you're mad. It was hard for me. I didn't need to be like pumped up out of my mind on like crazy music to go out and wrestle a successful wrestling match. I actually like calm, peaceful time before that, and you know, maybe a little bit of self-reflection and things like that before a match where, you know, a fight is anger driven, and I wasn't an anger driven athlete, never.
Well, I'm sure a lot of that has helped you in the furthering of your career being a chef and running restaurants and doing that sort of thing. Before we jump into that, so Miles and McKinsey, right? 6 and 8, is that?
Yeah, creeping closer and closer to 7 and 9.
Yeah,
Couple months here.
So, I mean, what's it like being a father?
Life-changing. It was, you know, I think lots of us, not just in the industry, but people in general can sympathize or empathize and as to, you know, what your 20s or late teens are like. And I was a wild animal. I mean, there's no no two ways around that. There's
2 of us.
There was trials and tribulations from, you know, my mid-teens until you know, around the time my daughter was born, and it just kind of changes it totally changes your perspective on what was important, what's now become important.
Yeah.
You know, I live for these kids. It doesn't matter what job I do in the world. I love my job, and it's a, you know, passion-driven career. Obviously, the money doesn't matter. It's all about the love of it. But I could walk away from it in a heartbeat if it meant a better life for my kids.
Yeah.
No question. So that would be different speaking than before having kids. I even did the stereotypical, you know, thing of a chef in his coming up years of, you know, blowing off friends and blowing off family and blowing off weddings and blowing off events and just to continue that career. And you know, that kind of shifted for me a bit as the kids were born.
It sounds like it. You definitely have a unique perspective on reading through your history and understanding what you've been doing and working through. So, you know, you started at Barrow's Pizza.
Yeah.
In Chandler?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, going in and working pizza and doing all that, did you get the bug from then to say, I want to move up in this industry, or was it just a job at that point?
No, not at all. No, I had the bug before that. I was waiting to be old enough for them to hire me.
Yeah.
My brother worked for a couple of different Barrow brothers, but gave me the job at, you know, location that's long since moved. They're really good at moving up and making nicer locations. In case no one's noticed that over the past 25 years, that they were all kind of in strip malls when when I started working for them, and now you know, they're full blown restaurants. Where no, I didn't. I'm speaking of Bob Ross. I'm wearing the shirt today, but I didn't grow up watching any cartoons or playing any video games. I loved Bob Ross. I loved Ming Tsai, all those guys that were on PBS, Graham Kerr and Julia Child. I watched that stuff on Saturday mornings, and then I went and played outside. So, I mean, both of those things still tie into exactly what I'm doing today. Is you know, I'm in the kitchen or I'm playing outside.
You haven't really changed much at all.
Not at all. You just have to figure out a way to continue.
I feel that
the Boy Scout vibe. You know, the fire and knives and foraging and digging in the dirt and camping. I mean, and you know, they paid me for it. So, what better way? And I mean, it was funny and ironic of, you know, what you said at the beginning, but I didn't idolize any chefs growing up. I never really idolized any chefs throughout my career.
Yeah.
A lot of mentors and a lot of guys that, you know, men and women that helped me along the way and create, you know, the skills that I possess now. But man, I loved Indiana Jones. I loved it.
Best.
It's a hands-on learn. You know, do you want to learn in a classroom or do you want to learn touching, seeing, feeling, tasting? I mean,
look, if I could have coffee with one person right now, it would be Harrison Ford.
Absolutely.
And it would be like, dude, you're Han Solo and Indiana Jones.
Right.
Like, how
did you
amazing
get to
is
be
that?
Two of the coolest guys ever.
Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
When did you go to Chicago? Was that early?
No. 2011, right after my daughter was born.
Okay.
So we moved to Chicago and opened up the second Roca Accord location. So I opened the Scottsdale location years before.
Gotcha. Okay.
Stayed for about a year, and then went out about my own business for a while, and then was asked to come be the executive chef in Chicago. So that sounded, again, like something I needed to touch, see, and feel for myself. So.
And the Chicago scene completely different from Phoenix?
Oh my God, night and day. I mean, the Chicago industry scene. In general, just the Chicago, you couldn't find two places that are more polar opposite.
Complete opposite.
From one another. I mean, I live downtown, right downtown in the West Loop, and so I walked with the businessmen to work every morning. They were all getting off the train.
Do you have your knives with you?
In my backpack, but I always looked funny because I wear a bright orange Columbia jacket and I wear bright like tan Carhartt pants, because in the forest and in the snow you don't want to blend in. These guys are all wearing long black pea coats and black hats and things like that. And I just remember one day stopping at a corner, walking to work and just like looking at everyone on all the corners and like, I don't fit in here, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
You're
you.
Yeah, and it's just. I was talking to another friend about that this morning. It's nice to be you.
Yeah.
A lot of people, spend years and years and years trying to be the person that they think other people want them to be, when I don't really care.
It's amazing when people get, I guess, situated in an idea that they have to be something or somebody else, and there could be many different configurations of why that is. It could be money, it could be peer groups, it could be all sorts of different stuff.
Definitely.
And it's nice to be, in my opinion, for me, what works, it's nice to be freed of that. And it sounds like you're freed of that as well. You just went out and did your thing, and
it's just, I mean, as long as the people that are closest to you are happy and you're happy with that, then I mean, for me, and it ties back into my kids. As long as my family's happy, then you know what, I'm totally at peace with that and totally cool with that.
How long was the stint in Chicago?
5 years.
About 5 years. And your kids were
almost
with you that time, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I was still married.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then, when we came back was mid 2015, I guess.
And that's when you went over to Cartwrights?
Yeah, I did a couple of different jobs around town, just a couple of consults, and just feeling out. Phoenix is a hard place to come from the outside in, or even just to be with a lot of executive positions open. I'd always noticed, even growing up in Phoenix, that most head chefs own their restaurants.
Right.
And so to come back and just from Chicago from afar and see who's hiring an executive chef, and I'd even being a native, like I don't really have much of a rapport in Phoenix at this point, so I knew the owners of Tonto and Cartwrights at that point in time, and I'd finished up a consult, and Elena and I had actually been talking about, was Phoenix the right decision for us, coming from Chicago, and the consults are up now, and I've got a couple job offers in California, and I don't want to live in California. I've done that, and it just I didn't like it when I was younger for a number of reasons, and it just nothing seemed or felt right about it until really just randomly one night the old owners called me up and said, "Hey, he told us to call you if we ever needed a chef at Cartwrights, and we need a chef at Cartwrights." And I said, "Okay." And they said, "Well, we've got a Facebook ad or a Craigslist ad or something like that up." And I said, "Well, you can take it down. You just called me."
Yeah.
I said, "Save your $25 or whatever it is. Take it down. I'll be up tomorrow." So we had a good chat and talked about it. And even at that point, they had I knew that they were looking for an exit strategy as well, so that it was possibly a long-term deal. So within a year and a half or so, we purchased it and ran with it.
Yeah. You did. I remember going up there for Thanksgiving, and how many heads would you do on a Thanksgiving? Or how many tables?
Average about 750.
That's crazy to me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. People ask, about the prep and whatnot. And it starts like mid through October.
Yeah.
In different aspects of it, of like just making sure the turkeys are in the right place, and just
right.
you can't be shorted on potatoes and something like that, but you need, this restaurant and so it was a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, or, you could usually have a choice of steak or a choice of fish for those that, didn't like turkey, but a fairly traditional type dinner. So a lot of ingredients that we didn't typically always have at Cartwrights. So like, I'm calling someone looking at me. I don't really reach outside of my local area very well. So to find 300 pounds of local potatoes in Arizona is a feat to be had. So it might come from a little bit at Crooked Sky and a little bit over at Mortimer and a little bit over here. But to get it all together is just nuts. Even the turkeys, we started at Top Knot Farms down in Benson, in the springtime for the following Thanksgiving. There's a lot of planning that goes into it if you can actually talk the talk and walk the walk.
Right.
But, you can't bail on that philosophy and that standard and say like, oh shit, I got to call Cisco. I'm like, no, stay true to my word.
Yeah. There's not many chefs that do stay true to their word.
And it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And that's how, menus start getting created. That's why I don't have very many potatoes on my menu quite often, and probably, more native starches that I can get from, the ladies down at Ramona Farms. It makes more sense to me.
Yeah. And that is, it's just such a beautiful thing to hear you say and to really interpret and analyze as I sit here and I listen to you. Like I always knew what you were about from a distance and seeing, on your Facebook and Instagram and all the different stuff that you do. But to really put that into context in a menu on a restaurant that serves a shit ton of people all the time, and you have stayed 100% to your word to do the best that you can to create local and bring that. I mean, how obviously it's very important to you. What do you think by doing a lot of that, there's a lot of change that can come to Arizona that you can rub off on other people to really make that movement happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think I came back. Why Cartwrights worked for me to go be the chef is I was trying my hardest to get out of corporate American restaurant world. That part of my career had come, kind of to a screeching halt.
There wasn't a passion for it anymore.
No, and I end up in this discussion, often with people of like, it was great. It was great at that part of your career to say like, hey, let's get 250 pounds of bluefin tuna flown in from Spain tomorrow. That was cool. That was, goes back to, you said you can't pinpoint, what are you looking for that's making you happy? Well, at that point in time, it was spending a bunch of money and making a bunch of money.
Maybe partying?
Absolutely. Yeah. In Chicago, buddy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Before Chicago,
you're what, late 20s, 30s?
Before Chicago, it was LA, and before LA, it was Panama City. So
100%, man.
It was, your focuses end up on different things. And again, probably as I got older and the partying ways kind of burned out of me, you start seeing like, you know what, I'm having an idea of how I want to create food. And I'm having a scope and a vision of where I want to be with this thing. And, like we had talked about before, is that's what brings me, that's what was always in my heart about Arizona is like, if I can go back to Arizona, like I already know ranchers, I already know farmers, I already have a network. I know where to find mushrooms all the time. I know where to find blackberries all the time. I know how to use all this through like, my dad and Boy Scouts, and then just self, education and continuing, those roots that were planted young it made sense to come back here. To do the restaurant, and Cartwrights kind of already had that framework for it, a little more cowboy steakhouse when I
set up for you,
right when I first took over, but the perfect shell for kind of how I wanted to just release the ideas, I guess, to the valley and I think I have seen it rub off just because you have chefs that say like, hey, they want to be hyper local as well, and
totally,
it's like I get some of my mushroom hunting friends that aren't chefs that they get, upset if you tell them a space, tell someone else a place where, you found
get
something.
The mushrooms,
yeah, but you know what? That's also, someone showed them at one point how to do it, and someone showed me at one point how to do it. And if someone's actually being passionate and wants to learn, I'll tell you what, I've probably taken 20 or 25 different industry, professionals out between bartenders that are looking for something different, or brewers that are looking for something for different. We had the Helio guys out with us, a couple of summers ago, just looking around to see like what else can we, what else can, same. What else can we do? And, I've got a couple of friends that are chefs that are, with us often, and that that makes for, even more collaboration in the end. So
as we dive into foraging, which is what you're talking about right now, I mean, for people listening, what in Arizona can you get a surplus of? It's like yesterday I saw you picking blackberries and mushrooms. I mean, what else is out there that people probably just don't even know?
Everything.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of things. What's beautiful about Arizona is we're split in half. We've got the Sonoran Desert and we've got the Colorado Plateau. So Arizona has just the same, if not more, of that food diversity, that wild food diversity, because one, the Sonoran Desert has a number of edible items that no one else has on Earth. So to speak to that, to start is, the Sonora, every desert's an ancient ocean. It just depends on how long that ocean's been extinct.
Interesting.
And what kind of life is left in
cool.
it. Well, the Sonoran Desert was one of the last ancient oceans. So you look out at this desert, and it's not the Sahara, and it's not the Gobi, and it's not the Mojave Desert. It's not sandy dunes for as far as the eye can see. It's vibrant. It is full of life, and sometimes that life is just under the surface, or it's just trapped inside of a plant. But the Sonoran Desert has more flora and fauna than anywhere else in the world.
Okay.
It's just a matter of being educated,
right.
And figuring that out. And I think that's also part of the fun of the fun and joy of presenting food this way to people, is that we've made it super complicated.
Yeah.
Super complicated. So when I'm out, some of our bigger things from the Sonoran Desert would be cholla buds, prickly pear, saguaro fruit, barrel cactus fruit. But in turn, that means I don't use any other seeds except cactus seeds anymore either. And the seeds of the cactus are full of antioxidants and proteins. And that's the other thing, is most of this food is, in my eyes or my opinion, nearly medicinal. It's good for you. Good food for you is going to be good for your body. They go hand in hand. It's not rocket science here.
No.
And food that grows close to you is probably going to be better for you than food that you've had from somewhere else. Your body craves and wants to eat what it's adapted to, the area and the climates, the geography that it's adapted to. So why wouldn't you eat the way that indigenous people ate? And can you present it in a different way? Of course you can, because we worked in Japanese cuisine and Italian cuisine and American cuisine. And so now you can pull, a different region's application with our ingredients. So maybe, we love robotic grills like in Japanese food, but to have it with, venison and, sauteed mushrooms and butter that you churn from local milk and berry sauce that, you picked right next to where the venison was found and right on top of, where you picked your mushrooms, that's something beautiful to me.
Is there any way to be a chef and a business owner and to be able to do all that and stay true to your heart and make any fucking money?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's and I think that's what the big problem is in today's society. Is
definitely.
You talk about the Ciscos and the Shamrocks and all that, and nothing again. I mean, they are what is needed for a lot of these people to be in business and do their thing.
Sure.
But wow, how cool would it be to have a place? I mean, is there going to be a place called Wild?
Yep.
And how cool would it be to have a place like that where
I think we've figured out a model as to excuse me, how to make it and not that it, I don't want to be the, all the way negative guy. There's no way to become rich that way.
Yeah.
So, to keep the business sustainable, and to, but that's a drive behind closing Cartwrights. It shocked some people, but usually to give the story behind it, people say, that makes more sense. So for me in 2020 or 2019 rather, Cartwrights was the same size as Roca Accor in Chicago, square footage and seating.
Okay, I didn't know that. Wow.
So downtown Chicago has a bit more foot traffic and just a bit more traffic in general. It didn't make sense to talk about this sustainability on this food side that we're so passionate about while not being financially sustainable, while continuing not to it's very, very challenging to fill up a restaurant in Cave Creek with 165 seats.
Oh, yeah.
Night after night after night after night. So the idea was I already wanted to start a farm, whether it was going to back up Cartwrights or a different business venture.
Yeah.
It had just gotten to a point where this is a good time to do it. We're not in debt. We're not, you know, upside down or anything with money. So this is a good time to just, you know,
it was good for all parties.
Right. Stop the partnership. Business partner wanted to do different things. And I was just dying inside for this tiny little restaurant.
Yeah.
Just a tiny little restaurant. And, you know, we still have the core group of everyone that worked at Cartwrights for the most part.
Excellent.
Existing under Wild. You know, Jaron was my sous chef for years and years and years, but now he's become my business partner.
Right.
You know, we've been to Chicago and back together. We opened Roca here in Scottsdale together 13 years ago.
Wow.
So, I mean, he and I have been not only chef and sous chef for years and years, but clearly you become pretty damn good friends over that course of time.
You know how to read each other. And
yeah, absolutely. And in our food progression, our thoughts and our outlooks progressed and evolved at the exact same time, where Jaron's Navajo and in his, you know, this was coming back full circle to his roots as well.
Yeah.
And it made sense as we closed Cartwrights for me not to be the only owner of the new restaurant. So, you know, if I was moving on without my previous business partner, I don't want to be the only owner.
Yeah.
I want my bar manager to have ownership. I want the sous chef to have ownership. So instead, like, we don't need a sous chef anymore if we've got two chefs in the building. And we toyed around before these last 5 months with a couple of different locations, and the idea was to get it more centralized and smaller.
Yeah.
And that was it. So in turn, as all of this has gone on, the Scott Foundation, who I've worked with for a long time, their ultimate goal was always a boutique resort and hotel, where the kids that are aging out of the foster system have an ability to intern and or actually get paid to live and work on the hotel's property, whether it's on our farm or whether it's on some side of the hospitality. Well, that plan came just snowballing through this course of last spring, where it was kind of a 5-year plan 6 months ago, and it's a go plan right now.
Wow.
So looking at a space that's about 80 acres, and again, back north of Cave Creek, but I feel comfortable about that because it's tied into a hotel and a resort.
Yeah.
Where I know that I'm going to have occupancy on the property all the time.
Right.
And I'm not just waiting for transient traffic to come through.
That's so cool.
Randomly. It also ties together, you know, all of my dreams of what I want to do is have my livestock and my farm right on the property.
Right.
And so we're test piloting this right now on an acre property in North Scottsdale. So building a mini farm, building a commercial kitchen, building an outdoor dining area where we can, for the next year or two, while this property gets built, just continue to test pilot, continue to have collaboration dinners, and the kids will have, so the culinary side of the Scott Foundation is called the Wild Kids Culinary Academy.
Okay.
So this will actually let me do everything that I kind of ever wanted to do, and farm and ranch, and have that directly tied to our kitchen and our menu all the time. Right out where we can forage the desert whenever we need, close enough that we can jump up into the forest, which is a huge reason of why I live in New River.
Yep.
I'm closer to the forest than
Yeah.
everyone else. And it just brings it all full circle to me. I can continue to teach these kids that are, you know, coming to me when they're 12, 13, 14 years old. And I've been through my whole first group of them, you know, on their 3-year block now, that those 18 and 19-year-olds, they babysit our kids. They help me on any event that I need help on. They're qualified, skilled cooks. So in turn, Jaron and I will be able to run the restaurant with kids that are in our academy. So
that you helped.
Yeah. So I think we get to hit all the nails on the head that we want. We'll open our new restaurant in, you know, a year and a half or two.
Yeah.
That gives us plenty of time to be prepping mentally and things like that. And it's a huge undertaking with the whole resort, where you know, where there won't be a golf course, there'll be gardening classes, and where there won't be I don't know, something else fancy at a hotel, we'll have foraging classes, or, you know, we intend on having, you know, Jeeps that we can take people on outdoor tours from. that way you can see what your food was that morning. You can be interactive, and we've been doing that a little bit more, Jaron and I, taking people on campouts and taking people out on expeditions, because for years people have asked me to do it, but having that, you know, the old restaurant for open 7 days a week,
you're a slave to the restaurant,
364 days a year, you just don't have the time to take on any other project. So in this downtime, if you will, I feel like I'm busier than I ever have been, but in this time that I don't have a restaurant, and the new restaurant I definitely won't have open every single night, and that gives us time, that gives staff time to to get things done either as a family or as a crew, where Jaron and I right now, we're just canning and jarring and dehydrating and preserving.
Well, that's the thing. People will be able to come to your spot and pick up stuff that you've canned and
absolutely
wild
so
organic.
At that point, there will be a farmer's market, obviously on the property.
That's amazing.
Where again, all these things that I've kind of done or dealt with in these satellite type situations, where I'm totally stoked to have it all. Even if it's 80 spread out over 80 acres, I don't have to drive here for this and drive here for that, or source this from here and source that from there. Where it's
there's a need for it. People right now, with everything, with the stuff that's going on in the world, period, and people, I think grasping to some sort of understanding that being healthy is a huge plus,
right?
And if you can offset some of your let's just say habitual things that you've done that have given you high blood pressure, made you overweight, or that sort of thing, by just finding really great places and educational places to learn how to eat better and to do
and to make it and to not a forced educational type situation, but where people are having fun.
People love it. Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
Who doesn't want to go in the woods?
How many people over the course of the spring have called me and asked me how to help them with gardening and farming and foraging?
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, sorry, man, I'm looking out for myself right now.
I know,
we're
you're
getting the garden planted as fast
the
as
world's
we could.
ending.
I don't know. I'm planting on all these zucchinis. Try your best.
Yeah.
But it that just goes to show that we've lost something that's vital and super important to humanity is that connection with food, the actual connection with food. I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, I can't hear about a cow being killed. I'm like, you're eating a steak right now.
Yeah.
You have to honor that animal. That's not doing it any honor or any service by not appreciating the whole line. And I know it's hard for some people, but in general, that, man, I want to raise my own livestock so that I can make sure they're harvested sustainably and ethically and morally. and while, yes, that part's hard for some people, it's also a huge, important part of connecting to the food. I mean, I had a friend that was or is vegan that participated in a lamb slaughter a couple years ago, and she forced herself to watch it, and because it was important, I guess, for her to see
very emotional.
Definitely. And it is an emotional thing. I commercial fish almost every summer, not this summer because they don't want me in Canada, but I can appreciate that this summer. But you're killing fish all day long.
Right.
The idea is I don't want the fish to suffer though. So how am I doing this ethically and sustainably and approaching it with a moral compass where I'm not, getting any sadistic kicks out of it. It's an honor.
Yeah.
It's an honor thing. You can bring it back. And I'll tell you what, when you catch that fish yourself and you bring it all the way back from Canada, you don't want to waste one bit of it.
No, I'm sure.
So for years, we've made all of our soy sauce instead of with bonito flakes that I have to order from Japan. I bring back all the salmon every year. We smoke and dry all those bones, and we put that into our soy sauce rather than bonito flakes.
Absolutely amazing. So you're like a Jedi of cooking.
We've touched on Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
so.
Go figure.
You know where my head was at as a youngster.
Well, as we talked earlier, we're both 80s butt rock lovers, as well. So I guess putting all those terms together is not the best.
I've been on a kick the last few days.
That is amazing. Are there any good fish in Arizona?
Trout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And predominantly, at Cartwrights, we'd get the trout from the Oak Creek trout farm.
You did sushi at Cartwrights. I remember that. Yeah. which was kind of weird when I went up there, you know,
Yeah,
because I had been going there for years, and
Right.
all of a sudden there's sushi on the menu at Cartwrights. What the fuck?
And that's another part of getting to a smaller, more intimate space is you know, connection and stories behind it. Because if you don't get the whole story, then it does seem like, what the hell is sushi doing on the menu, and where did this guy come from? But you know, it's a for me, it obviously came from years in Japanese food. On top of it, people ask like, oh, if you're so local and everything's, you know, wild and foraged, like, how do you have so much seafood on your menu? Well, I'm wearing the hat right now. I work with these guys every summer. It's the only seafood. I wouldn't say only, but predominantly the only seafood I use because I've been on all their boats and I know how it all works. And that's stuff that I've caught all of it.
Right.
So I think that story holds up very well to bringing it back
For sure.
every year. And somehow for me, everything I forage out of the desert tastes good on raw fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've told people this a couple times, and some people have said, oh, that makes sense. And other people have looked at me like, what the hell is this guy, you know, thinking up here? I think that the desert stuff goes with seafood very, very well because, again, in the big scheme of things, this desert's not that far removed from being an ocean. So how long have those plants evolved, or how far have they actually evolved from when it was something that was actually with fish?
Yeah, and the whole educational portion of what you state there, I think even people listening here are kind of like, oh, wait a minute, oh wow, Arizona was an ocean at one point, you know, and
right, not as long ago as you know, when you look at the big map.
Yeah. So
the big timeline. A
typical day in foraging, and since you kind of live close to the forest over there, so you pack it up, pack the dog. What do you have, dogs or dog or?
I have one.
One that
works with me.
One
three that I possess. One that works.
Got it. Do you pack up the kids sometimes?
If they're around.
Yeah. And then you just head up, and is it just a one-day thing, or do you sometimes camp it, or?
It's different for different seasons. So, you know, if you start the regular calendar year, say in January, as far as forest trips, there's nothing really producing in the forest, but we're checking snowpack and we're checking for runoff and seeing what streams are going to flow well through the springtime, because that'll start producing you know, the first of the spring products in the forest. But by late February in the desert's really starting to produce, you know, barrel cactus fruit and, you know, palo verde and that's pretty typical. So like those kinds of mornings, if we're in the desert and it's a springtime, usually like a 6 a.m. to noon kind of forage. And you know, our desert spots aren't that far. And honestly, a lot of it gets done on my property nowadays.
That's cool.
We have tons of 5 acres, but only 3 that we've committed to fencing in for the farm.
Yeah.
The other 2 will stay.
So there's literally no excuses for me to not do this with you.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Forest stuff, or like say we're on saguaros for about 6 weeks a year.
Okay.
You get up about 4 in the morning, but you're done by about 6:15. As soon as the sun's been up for 35, 40 minutes, you're staring right into it coming up because you're looking up the top of a cactus.
Gotcha.
Not to mention you're just feeling it go from 97 to 98 to 99 to 101 to 103 and like
real quick.
Yeah, and at the same time, as soon as the sun comes up, the birds and bugs are just all over cactus fruit. So that, you know, that's every single day for 6 weeks, but it's only a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
And that's all we're on at that point in time. And so right now, mushroom season is, you know, typically up by 2 or 2:30 in the morning. And without having the restaurant right now, we're able to camp a little bit more. But again, we have a lot of plants to take care of. We have the Foster Foundation that, you know, we're committed to, and it's hard. It's hard to get away for, you know, more than one night. So Monday morning, Jaron and I left at 4:30 in the morning. We got home around 8 at night.
Do you take naps?
No.
You just got energy?
Keep going.
God, good for you.
No caffeine, though.
Yeah.
No caffeine.
No caffeine?
No.
You too crazy on caffeine?
It's nuts.
That's
if
awesome.
I drank a Coke right now, I wouldn't sleep tonight.
and my assumption is you probably cook a lot at home, just for you and your family.
More now than I ever have, but it's funny. A lot of chefs I hear joke around right now. Like, I didn't realize I had a kitchen at my house.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot that I've talked to and realized
but
that
the thing is with the foraging, there ends up being a lot of times like, I don't want to go to the restaurant and like prep this right now, and like I'm already at home, or I would have to drive right past my house to, go to the kitchen to prep this and like, and just end up doing it at home. So you end up with morel and spot prawn pasta from time to time.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is.
Right.
And no cheating, no Chick-fil-A or.
As far as fast food?
Yeah.
Not really.
You're pretty good about it.
I don't. I used to love it, and I got no shame in saying that. But the first year that I commercial fished,
The waffle fries.
I ate salmon only for
Salmon only? Did you get a mercury test after that?
Well, salmon and spot prawns, but only seafood while I was in Canada. And I came home and I had asked Elena to get me something to eat on the way to the airport, and she brought me In-N-Out burger, and I thought like, oh my God, I haven't had a burger in weeks, and I ate it and I was so sick.
Yeah. Because your body's just not used to eating.
And that's probably when I stopped eating it in general. I can't remember the last time I ate.
That was me back when I drank a lot, which is, going on, I think 7 years. I haven't had it. Fast food was like, and
same thing.
Like
I mean,
the cure
I was
for the addiction.
Heavy boozer, right? It's filled with oils and sugars and synthetic fats. It's just again, I have a hard time trying to live my whole life this way, and I tell people like this is stuff I'm trying to teach my kids. It's not a concept for me. It's not a fad for me. It's my life, and that's how the food fits into my concept. If I wasn't a cook, I would still be foraging as often as I possibly could. I would still want to commercial fish. I would still. They're all things that I love doing. So this is how I'm living my life. So it makes no sense for me to leave here today and stop over to Chick-fil-A.
Well, no, and you know how the body works, and when it takes in good stuff, and you're able to move and feel good and all that, and that's what's so important, I think, for people to, when you do open, to go visit your restaurant and see what's going on and do all that sort of stuff. That's amazing. All right, I got a few quick questions for you. All right, see if you can handle these.
Okay.
Would you rather go to this is a dumb question. I know what your answer is going to be. Would you rather go to a Vegas party or a dude ranch?
Dude ranch.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a dude ranch?
I have, and I say that sparingly because a Vegas party is always going to be a good time. In a dude ranch, posers can end up making me. Let me
rephrase the question. Would you rather go to a Vegas party with David Coverdale from Whitesnake?
Vegas party with David Coverdale. Yeah.
Have you ever seen any weird shit while you were camping?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, nonstop, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of weird shit just out in the forest in general. I mean, you come across like a car door in the middle of the forest, and like you
but we're not talking a Bigfoot or anything.
No. I mean, as far as wildlife goes, no, I've not had that fortunate bestowed upon me yet. No, but I think even the weirdest stuff for us is I think it was last summer. There was a couple that had overtaken some prison guards or whatever, and they were making their way through the White Mountains. They eventually got captured in Tonto Basin or something like that. Jaron and I were out of touch that whole time in the White Mountains, working our way to Tonto Basin on mushrooms, berries, and then stopping at our friends.
Well, let's clarify. You weren't on mushrooms. You were.
No, when I know I have to clarify that all the time. No, when we were on the mushroom forage.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
But we shorten it up sometimes. Yeah. Oops. But we were working our way basically right along their path.
My God.
The whole time, where I don't really worry about wildlife. I worry about
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't blame you there.
Yep. So it's the dog's there for the wildlife. I guess I'm there for the people.
How many rattlesnakes have you seen?
Ever?
Yeah.
This year.
While foraging. Let's go this year.
2.
Okay. That's not too bad.
No, I see them far less often and then I feel like other people see them. I see people, and that's the thing. I don't want a picture of it. No. I'm not getting a video. It doesn't need to be on my fucking Instagram. Right. So I typically try and stay away.
And you don't forage for rattlesnakes?
No. I had a sous chef that used to.
Gross.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of meat.
Would you rather camp in 6 feet of snow or Death Valley?
6 feet of snow.
Really?
Yeah, easily.
Okay. I want to go to Death Valley with you. Seriously, I think that'd be kind of cool. Not that we're gonna forage anything. I just would like to see
bring sand back
with somebody that's a Boy Scout.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do I don't remember what mountain it might be. I don't know what mountain rises right off of Death Valley, but that's the somewhat famous trail that goes up like 9,000 feet from the from the desert floor. I've always wanted to do that, but they say it's a little hot.
Yeah, probably so. Do you prefer being in a tent, camper?
Tent.
Okay. And
I prefer no tent at all, to clarify, but
outdoor.
Yeah, tent over camper.
And then going back to wrestling, would you rather do bear crawls or up downs for an hour?
For an hour. I was going to say, for how long? Shit. I'm trying to remember the pain of each one properly, before you answer. I would rather do up downs for an hour.
Okay.
I'm positive I've done up downs for an hour.
Positive, right? Yeah, I get you to come do a Spartan race with me.
Yeah.
No, so where can everybody find you, and how do they stay in touch with you? And
right now, until we finish the kitchen and dining space at the Scott Foundation, which at that point we'll have collaboration dinners every month again, like we used to have a guest chef at Cartwrights once a month.
Yeah,
kind of expand now as we get the Foster Foundation. Scott Foundation and Wild have basically melded together.
Okay.
So that I can be associated with these kids.
Do many people know about this?
This
like,
melding together?
Yeah.
This is the first time we've talked about it publicly because we haven't been doing a lot of stuff in public.
How exciting is that?
And you hit me up a few weeks ago, so I thought, man, I've been having, a lot of journalists and a lot of peers and a lot of colleagues and people in the business ask me, and like, just like you and I talked about before we started, like, man, I can't even make a plan for next week right now. So, so this makes way more sense than jumping into a brick and mortar, not knowing what the future. By me not having to worry about a restaurant right now, I can help other people.
Yeah,
and that's huge for me.
And still be involved in food and doing what you love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, so with the Scott Foundation, we'll take a chef for the whole month, a guest chef.
Okay.
They'll do 3 cooking classes collaboratively, and then the last week of their involvement will be a dinner that people can buy tickets to.
Cool.
So that kitchen's being built right now. The Bruce Halley Foundation from Discount Tire gave us $100,000 to build a kitchen. So
wonderful.
As anyone that knows in the business goes, that's a pretty good chunk of change for what we need to do. So they're building, got local people building craftsman, blacksmith, building grills and building ovens and things like that for us. So that, again, like I said, this is kind of a test run, a pilot property for what we're going to be doing on a grander scale. So I'm excited, and it's in the meantime we've been doing. We're kind of re-innovate it a little bit over the next week or so, but we've been doing a to-go pop-up every single week.
Okay.
Usually centered around Jaren's brisket or some barbecue of some kind. So next week we're doing 2 wash chickens, and I think he said he's coming back with ribs from the reservation. So that sounds
and you'll continue to do a lot of that stuff. So people
follow. Add a farmer's market. So I'm gonna, for now, I'll just turn Wild into a virtual restaurant with a somewhat diverse menu, as well as farmed goods and CSA boxes that can be packed up. Because I know now, as restaurants have started to feel it and have felt it for months and months, a lot of my farmer friends need help.
Yeah,
they need to move product, and they're losing animals or selling animals at less than they paid for them, or they're selling their product for less than it cost to grow it in the first place. And like I said, without needing to worry about said restaurant at the given moment, how can I help those people?
So people would be great if they follow you and they follow the events that you're doing and they buy from those events, because it not just helps, basically, what you're doing, but it helps, it goes down the line.
Right.
It's
absolutely,
which is amazing. So, and you're great on social media. You're responsive. You do your thing. And so Wild has its own IG.
Wild Arizona Cuisine has its own Instagram. I'm B Vibber on Instagram, and
that's pretty much.
If you want to find Jaren, he's Custom 505 because he's from New Mexico, and
gotcha.
They represent the 505. So, other people tell us that too. Like, isn't part of the Navajo Nation on the New Mexico side, and like the Arizona New Mexico line came way after the Navajo Nation's lines.
It's their
it's all the same. When you cross over from New Mexico and Arizona on the nation, you don't see any signs. It's just that's not aligned to them. So we always get a good chuckle out of that. That's how you can find any of us. And like I said, it's just a matter of staying busy and not necessarily relevant, but staying busy helps keep the passion going. So
for sure,
no matter what it is, my life will always be encompassed with food. And like that's always going to be the platform. But how much more of the community can we reach? How much more culture can we affect? And without just being stuck with your head down 7 days a week in a restaurant.
Well, rest assured, I'll us, me, all of us, will be promoting the shit out of whatever it is that you're doing. And so to keep people, in the loop, even through show notes and just through stuff that we'll, promote here or there, as you're doing these educational, learning, trainings and stuff like that, and doing the foraging and all these things that people that are of interest. And I would seriously be like, get involved, check it out, even if it's once a month sort of thing. So
sure,
as those things blow up, I do want to announce those and put them out.
Yeah, for this year is the Scott Foundation has had an annual paw tea, and it's a animal fashion show.
Yeah.
And it involves a live auction, involves a silent auction. And it's been at Cartwrights or Westworld for years.
Yeah.
And this year we have to go virtual with it. So, that's a shift for all of us to, hopefully deliver 300 meals on September 20th. So, that's a big one. And then I told you before, I'm going to hike the entire Arizona Trail.
That's right.
Leaving in March, and I'll be back midway through May, and I've always wanted to do it, but I have an outlet for it now where it can be to raise money and awareness for the foster youth of Arizona. It's a super screwed up system, just like we have a lot of super screwed up systems, and anything we could do to bring awareness and impact to it is huge.
That's amazing. Do people ever call you Jesus? No. Okay. You're a good dude.
Thanks,
you really are.
David.
You're a good dude.
I appreciate it.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming and
Thanks
doing
for having
this
me.
and driving from New River.
Good people. That's the whole thing for me now, I guess, nowadays is surrounding yourself with good people, and then great things happen. One great idea is not as good as 10 great ideas together, and I'm just constantly wanting to further my community and that network of
I know you do.
people just evolving. It's like a hurricane, man.
It's awesome.
Hurricane of positivity.
And it's just as we had talked in the beginning of the podcast of how we met and just how those energies align together, and it's just positive energy. So awesome. Thank you, Brett. Subscribe to the BRP Bar Restaurant Podcast list. We will be giving away some really cool items. I'm going to coerce, is that the right word, Brett into giving us some cool stuff and other people that we have on the podcast. So you can literally win some really awesome stuff from our guest and be a part of a list and just kind of keep in tune and in touch with everything that we have going on here as we grow this. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please, 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 if you get a chance, leave a 5-star review. Helps us, get some traction. Share this with your friends. And check out our social media outlets at the local 480, the local 480 media. You have to check out Eat Drink AZ because she's the bomb and part of our group. And then obviously at I Am the Delo, which is my personal Instagram. And that's it. So thanks for joining us.